Assumption is that the government will be slowly passing on this responsibility to families or to the health insurance companies to take care of that payment. At present, when citizens are paying for hospitalization out of their own pocket, which is a significant number, then they are having the necessity to either break their fixed deposits, mutual funds, or withdraw from provident fund, take loans, personal loans, and that is the one which is leading them from normal state to lower grade, or you can say some of them definitely go to below the poverty line. All these things are showing that in case there is going to be huge collection of rupees 28 lakhs crores in year 2042 under the head of premium, then naturally something like 28 lakhs crores or 30 lakhs crores will also be spent in providing hospitalization and those needs. This indicates that the growth in health insurance has correlation with improvement in healthcare infrastructure. In case the healthcare infrastructure does not increase, does not improve in the country, then you can take it that there will be no purpose served by having health insurance policies. A heart patient in the neighboring state is taken from home to hospital, district hospital, which is 80 kilometers away, and from there he is referred to another hospital which is again 160 kilometers away. Imagine heart patient being transported 240 kilometers when he really needs the attention. The same is the case in the case of patients who suffer with brain stroke, that unless and until they are given the proper medication within few hours, their case deteriorates and then it can turn into paralysis and the suffering which the person may have. So, what we find is that availability of sufficient hospital beds, doctors, paramedics is of utmost importance, and we as a nation, we have to create that infrastructure under the leadership guidance of the government of India, and 3 medical colleges are being added. But we should have it that India is having 741 districts. How many districts after 75 years of independence are such that there is not even a single medical college? There are large number of them. So our finding as a not-for-profit organization is that the time has come when aggressive targets need to be agreed, planned and announced by the government. For example, increasing the number of medical colleges to 1500 allopathy medical colleges, another 750 Ayush medical colleges to take care of the large growing population, out of which there will be certain percentage of aging population, because those who are in the 50s in the years to come, they will be in senior citizens category. We need nursing. So 3,000 colleges for nursing, 3,000 institutes of physiotherapy will be needed, because our finding is, and everyone, you also must be having the same finding, that in case a person is involved in an accident and he is taken to hospital or nursing home, then the orthopedic surgeon may spend an hour in looking at X-ray and all that thing and providing plaster and all that thing, and then tell the patient that you will need bed rest for 3 weeks and then you come. After that 1 hour of orthopedic surgeon has created demand for 30 or 60 hours of physiotherapist. So number of physiotherapists which are needed are huge in number, and we have to provide that. Let us create situation where our youngsters will not have to go to Russia, Ukraine, China, Philippines, and even Pakistan. You will be surprised to know that in the recent TV coverage, it was that how many students from Kashmir are going to Pakistan for medical education. And this is all when we know that when these youngsters come back, according to our rules, they are not permitted to practice in India, and they are, after trying for 3 years, 4 years to pass the accreditation program or exam, that is when they are unsuccessful, then it is that they go into starting business like LPG gas dealership or biscuit distributorship and like that. Let us train our youngsters within India to fulfill the needs of this nation. We have been exporting our doctors to the world, and that process will go on, because when they go there, they send foreign exchange to India. So keeping in mind that thing, we need 1500 allopathic medical colleges, 750 Ayush medical colleges, we need 3000 colleges of nursing, we need people. If you are aware of green card for physiotherapists, trained physiotherapists of India, green card application of USA is always open. And people who apply for green card for USA and who are qualified physiotherapists, that is, they get that approval in 2 months' time, and they go out of India. That is the demand for Indians in the world market. Italy is looking at persons from India to take care of their aging population. Japan is looking at India for aging population. So therefore it is that healthcare is one of the prominent areas where Indian economy can make value addition to the GDP of the country. In the coming hours, another idea is that in India we are having many rules and regulations which might have been drafted 20 years back or 30 years back, and which we go on following, that for setting up of medical colleges you need this much of investment, you need this much of that thing. It is our suggestion to Health Ministry will be that let them send a delegation to West Indies, which is Caribbean countries, that is Trinidad and all that thing, where so many medical colleges are working, which are training persons in medical education as per US specifications, and all these persons, after passing out from these countries, Caribbean countries, West Indies and all, they are allowed to practice in USA. And one of the, or many of these are medical colleges which might be having 50,000 square feet space only. Our restrictions of 5 acres of land and 10 acres of land are the repelling things which result in more and more hospitals, not medical colleges, not being set up in the country. So depend on these doctors to be imported from other countries like China or Philippines and all that thing. The experts in the coming hours are going to discuss innovations in health insurance, which you will find interesting and relevant, which you will find advice for this conference, and also supported us with the knowledge paper which has covered the topics, changes, technological innovations which will lead to growth of health insurance in this country, while maintaining a close watch on cost effectiveness, higher level of customer satisfaction. A satisfied customer is more important rather than paying higher brokerage or commission to intermediary, whether they are agent, broker firm or anyone. Smaller districts, villages, towns, tehsils and all that thing. Let me assure you that we in PhD Chamber of Commerce of Industry are ready to support the initiatives to be taken by the Health Ministry, National Health Authority and Insurance Regulatory and Development Authority, because we in the chamber we firmly believe that only healthy citizens can make a healthy nation, and then only India can achieve the target of Honorable Prime Minister to make India a $5 trillion economy. We are trying to have Mr. G. Srinivasan on virtual call during the session because he was suffering with COVID last week and he was advised not to travel to Delhi to be with us. We will also have Mr. Suresh Mathur, who is Executive Director Health Insurance in IRDAI. He will also be on virtual call because of the same reason. So you will have the opportunity of listening to the comments of Mr. G. Srinivasan, who is a great person, and Indian general insurance industry is proud of his achievements and contribution to the country.
For sharing the vital statistics and your very practical aspects of the health system in India, sharing so many facts and figures. And definitely with the good health, we are going to achieve the number of $5 trillion in the next 4-5 years with the support of the great infrastructure, physical, social and health. So earlier, infrastructure was considered social and physical, but now health infrastructure is also very, very important in terms of hospitals, dispensaries, doctors, nurses and paramedical staff. So with these words, now before inviting Dr. Harsh Mahajan, Chair Hospital and Diagnostics Committee, PhD Chamber, I would request our President Shri Pradeep Multani ji to welcome with a plant to Ms. Malti Jaswal, Consultant World Bank and Advisor National Health Authority. Shri Pradeep Multani ji, please. Thank you, President Saab, and thank you all dignitaries on the desk. Now I invite Dr. Harsh Mahajan, Chair Hospital and Diagnostic Committee, PhD Chamber, and Founder and Chief Radiologist, Mahajan Imaging. After completing his post-graduation in 1986, he was awarded a Rotary Foundation Fellowship at the M.D. Anderson Cancer Hospital and Research Institute in Houston, Texas. He was awarded one of the highest civilian national honors of Padma Shri in the 2002 for his contribution to the field of radiology and imaging. He is the president of the Indian Radiology and Imaging Association, IRIA, and is also consultant to the International Atomic Energy Association, IAEA, Vienna, Australia. Dr.
Multani, President, PhD Chamber of Commerce, Mr. S.K. Sethi, Co-Chair, BFSI Committee of PhD Chamber and Founder and CEO of Insurance Foundation of India, whom we heard just now. Ms. Malti Jaiswal, Consultant World Bank and Advisor at the National Health Authority. Dr. S.P. Sharma, Deputy Secretary General, PhD Chamber of Commerce, dignitaries of the dais, ladies and gentlemen. It's really an honor for me to speak here today in this conclave, which actually looks at how health insurance would be or should be in the year 2042 and what it may take to reach a level that we want for the health of citizens of this country. Now, let me share with you a few statistics which have been shared with me by the Secretariat of the PhD Chamber of Commerce. The hospital industry in India, accounting for 80% of total healthcare market, is witnessing a huge investor demand, both from both global as well as domestic investors. And this has got accelerated, especially after the pandemic. The hospital industry is expected to reach $132 billion by 2023 from $62 billion in 2017. So nearly a doubling at a CAGR of 16 to 17%. That's huge. The digital healthcare market in India, and that's to be discussed today, was valued at Indian rupees 116 billion in 2018 and is estimated to reach 485 billion by 2024, so nearly 3.5 times. And we'll delve into why that is so, why this is going to accelerate so much. Expanding at a compound annual growth rate of 27.5% during the 2019 to 2024 period. Probably the pandemic caused devastation, but it has also led to certain good things happening. Growth drivers of the industry, what have been, what seems to be the reason? To improve efficiency of the healthcare workforce, reduce costs, and create value propositions. There has also been a shift in disease burden, though during the pandemic, it was communicable disease, COVID, which caused all the problems. But if we see in India, non-communicable diseases now account for 50% of the disease burden and 60% of all deaths in India. So that's a huge thing. India is called the island, but this is due to the relatively low cost of medical care in India. Medical tourism is experiencing nearly a 25% growth and contributes over 2 billion to the healthcare market in India. And if we talk of the healthcare delivery systems, and that takes into account everything, right, from devices to diagnostics to hospitals, India provides the cheapest healthcare, quality healthcare in the world. And even if we compare with our neighbors, let us not compare with the West, US or England, even if we compare with our neighbors, Bangladesh, Sri Lanka, Pakistan, Nepal, quality healthcare in India is 20 to 25% cheaper. And yet, affordability is still a problem in our country, and we need to find innovative ways of making it more affordable. There has been policy support from the government and incentives. 100% FDI is allowed in greenfield and brownfield projects, and measures to correct unfavorable duty structure are being undertaken. Single window clearance and e-portal to improve ease of doing business. It may not have reached where we wanted to, but at least it is there in the consciousness of the government, and attempts are being made towards that end. There is also the Atmanirbhar Bharat Make in India program, which we hope will make devices, quality devices, cheaper and hence reduce healthcare costs. A special economic comprehensive package of Indian 20 lakh crores has been promised for promoting manufacturing in India. Life expectancy is increasing from 36 years, what it was at independence. It's expected to exceed 70 years. Of course, ladies live longer than men. And because of this, we will need more healthcare services. Because of this also, diseases like cancer, heart disease, the knee replacements, all of these will be required more and more as there is an aging population. Insurance coverage, and Mr. Sethi talked about this, it is still very low, only about 20%. If we leave the Ayushman Bharat scheme out of things. But this, as he told, is expected to grow manifold. What we also saw during the pandemic is the emergence of telemedicine. And many of us would have made use of it. I, as a doctor, if someone were to tell me before the pandemic that, serious healthcare will happen over the phone or on Skype or on Zoom, I would say that's impossible. And I would say that with a degree of responsibility. But we were forced to use this during the pandemic when there was nothing else available. Our healthcare systems, especially during the second wave, got overwhelmed. And we as doctors, acceptability of this on our side. And the government also, actually, in 2020, in the beginning of the pandemic, in March, brought out a draft act for telemedicine, making it legal in this country, which it wasn't before, even though sporadically it was practiced. Also, what we've seen, there is acceptability on the patient side also of telemedicine. They also realize that it can. Of course, if someone's having a heart attack, then you have to rush to hospital. But maybe a phone call with a doctor can accelerate that process. And many innovative ideas are coming up. Many startups are coming up in this. And I'm sure 5 years down the line, telemedicine is going to provide a huge boost, and that's where the insurance sector also needs to look at, because it's cheaper for the patient, for the provider, and of course for the health insurance companies. Medical infrastructure. Over 200 billion is to be spent, $200 billion on medical infrastructure by 2024 is the projection. But that will happen only if we are able to provide viability in the entire chain of the healthcare delivery system, starting from healthcare insurance. You need to be viable. The medtech device manufacturers, whether Indian or multinational, need to be viable. The diagnostics industry, the hospital, all of them need to be viable, sustainable, to be able to achieve this goal. And we've seen that, frankly, in the last 3 or 4 years, new greenfield healthcare infrastructure hasn't expanded at the rate that it should have. And we need to delve into reasons as to why that is so. Our Constitution of India promises free healthcare for all its citizens. But in practice, it's the private healthcare sector which is in charge for majority of healthcare in India, nearly 70%. And it's only 30% which is provided by the government. Most healthcare costs, especially in that missing middle 40 crore population, is paid out of pocket. And unfortunately, and I use this word with a lot of responsibility, these people who are paying out of pocket are subsidizing those who have insurance, are subsidizing those who have the central government or state health insurance, be it CGHS, ECHS, be it the state schemes, be it Ayushman Bharat. Because those have been priced at such levels, and those prices which were fixed in 2010 for, say, a CGHS or ECHS scheme have not been revised over 12 years. Despite inflation that's happening, So ultimately, it's that middle class person who may have, as Mr. Sethi said, broken a fixed deposit or taken out some gratuity or sold some property or jewelry to get healthcare for him or herself, that poor person is actually subsidizing.
Mr. Saurabh Sanyal, Secretary General, PHDCCI, Dr. S.P. Sharma, Chief Economist, eminent dignitaries, friends from media, ladies and gentlemen. Again, a very, very good morning to all. Of course, we are missing Mr. Rajat Bhushan, Secretary, Ministry of Health and Family Welfare, Government of India, as well as Dr. Ram Sevak Sharma, CEO, National Health Authority, Ministry of Health and Family Welfare, Government of India. Unfortunately, both of them have got tied up in some urgent meetings at Nirmal Bhavan. So whatever proceedings we have, we will definitely share it with them. On behalf of PHD Chamber of Commerce and Industry, I welcome you all to the program on Health Insurance 2042. The program is very timely and important to know about the need of health insurance for each and every Indian. I wish to extend my wholehearted gratitude to all the distinguished speakers, members and guests who have been kind enough to spare the valuable time in this August gathering here today. The health insurance industry in India has undergone a sea change over the last 2 years. One major change has been the perception of the category amongst customers and the need to have health insurance policy. The COVID-19 pandemic has made everyone realize the uncertainties of life and their unpreparedness in case of any health-related emergency. As Mr. S.K. Sethi said, it has been and will be a major financial burden on all of us. Buying health insurance is important as it ensures that you are financially secure to face any type of problems in life. And this is why health insurance is a very important part of financial planning. A health insurance plan can be a solution to deal with the rising medical costs. It provides financial security by covering the costs related to treatment, hospitalization, free health checkup, and pre and post hospitalization expenses. We all know we can get tax relief on the premium under Section 80D. Based on demographics, the Indian health insurance market is segmented into minors, adults, and senior citizens. Among these, the senior citizens held the largest market share in 2022. In 2020, increasingly geriatric populations between the ages of 65 and 80 are most vulnerable to medical emergencies, which is why health insurance is of paramount importance for providing the financial support necessary. However, the adult segment is expected to grow at a faster pace during the forecast period because of increased awareness of healthcare among this demographic. The digital economy will make usage-based, on-demand, and all-in-one insurance lifestyle products more relevant. Customers will prefer personalized insurance covers instead of the one-size-fits-all products currently available. As per the recent Niti Aayog report, while the Ayushman Bharat Pradhan Mantri Jan Arogya Yojana and state government extension schemes provide comprehensive hospitalization cover to the bottom 50% of the population, another 20% are covered through social health insurance and private voluntary health insurance. The remaining 30% of the population is devoid of health insurance and is termed as a missing middle. This segment predominantly constitutes the self-employed informal sector in rural areas and a broad array of occupations in urban areas. Various government schemes coupled with tax benefits of health insurance are propelling the market growth. I will mention that Ayush Bharat Pradhan Mantri Jan Arogya Yojana is a wonderful scheme. However, we need the government to offer better prices to the service providers to cover costs and provide excellent health care to our population. Conducted by the strategic consulting and market research firm Blue Weave Consulting revealed that India health insurance market is estimated to grow at a CAGR of 10.1% during the forecast period of 21-27. Health insurance witnessed 13.3% growth in GDP in financial year 21. The market size of the Indian health insurance sector is somewhere in between 370 to 400 billion Indian rupees. And this was projected to cross over 2 trillion rupees by financial year 2030. PhD Chambers has suggested three-pronged strategies to strengthen the health insurance sector in India. Shift resources from core business tasks to breakthrough innovation initiatives. Innovation is not just about creativity and generating unique ideas. It's about identifying unmet needs and untapped markets and addressing them. We should develop distinct product development pathways and processes. Managing the delivery of an innovation portfolio therefore requires organizations to develop distinct pathways for product development. Design value propositions that incorporate new approaches to customer engagement and distribution. Innovative value propositions aren't just about products. They integrate insurance protection and prevention, customer engagement and distribution, and marketing. We all know Indian doctors are the best in the world, and we definitely need more medical and Ayush colleges. We also need a more active role for the Ayush sector as a preventive healthcare system. Dr. S.K. Sethi stated we need 1,500 allopathic hospitals and 750 Ayush hospitals. We also need, like I mentioned, enough medical colleges so that our students do not go to our neighboring countries, whereas their students should be coming to us. Firstly, they will be trained by our system, and also they will get us valuable foreign exchange. Health insurance to move forward in this sector to cover all Indians and boost the Indian economy. Thank you. Jai Hind. Stay healthy and blessed.
Thank you, President Shri Pradeep Motani ji, for providing great insights about the healthcare system in India. And as we are fortunate that you are from the same industry, and you did a lot during the pandemic period also to facilitate the health system, and provided so many suggestions for the improvement in the health system, particularly in the pandemic period, to move forward and to mitigate the downstream impact of bad health system in India. So moving ahead, I would like to invite a few questions from the audience. If they feel some question has to be asked to the dignitaries on the dais, then they can come out with their respective questions.
कुछ पेशेंट होते हैं जिनकी हेल्थ इंश्योरेंस होने के कारण से मल्टीपल टाइम्स उनकी सर्जरी हो जाती है.
Can someone provide mic to him?
मैं myself है दीपक. मेरे साथ कुछ प्रश्न आते हैं, कुछ पेशेंट आते हैं जिनकी मल्टीपल टाइम सर्जरी हो जाती है. उनके कारण क्या होता है, उनके हेल्थ इंश्योरेंस कार्ड होता है, और एक पेशेंट भी रिसेंटली मेरे पास है, मेरे उसको वीडियो भी मेरे पास है, वो 6 सर्जरी करा चुका है. 2 टाइम्स मतलब स्पाइन सर्जरी, फिर उसके कार्पल सर्जरी, जो कि अगर उसको सिंपल अगर आयुर्वेदिक ट्रीटमेंट दिया गया होता उसको सर्जरी की नीड नहीं थी. लेकिन हेल्थ इंश्योरेंस होने कार्ड होने का 750 लाख 7,50,000 से ज़्यादा खर्च हो गए. अब उसके पास इंश्योरेंस कार्ड हो चुका है और अपना पैसे खर्च करा के ट्रीटमेंट ले रही है. तो दिस इज दी सम प्रॉब्लम जो मैं पेशेंट को सामने में फेस कर रहा हूँ, देख रहा हूँ.
Okay, thank you. Can I request Shri S.K. Sethi ji, if he can answer or provide some suggestion to you?
हाँ जी, आपने जो बोला, I think this is an exception, and it is not. I appreciate what you are saying. Exceptions prove the rule. लेकिन ये जो हमारे जिस क्वालिटी के हमारे डॉक्टर्स हैं, according to me, we have the finest doctors, and again I repeat, this will be one of the rarest exceptions. इंश्योरेंस तो सबको कवर करनी ही पड़ेगी. आज के दिन में अगर इंश्योरेंस नहीं है तो इट इज अ मेजर कॉज ऑफ कंसर्न, एंड वी नो ड्यूरिंग द कोविड-19 हमको सबको सामने है कि जाके, क्योंकि उस समय किसी को नहीं पता था किस तरह ट्रीट करना है, क्या करना है. तो आई थिंक वी शुड बी, आई रियली अप्रिशिएट यू ब्रिंगिंग इट अप, क्योंकि इस टाइप की भी अगर आइसोलेटेड इंसिडेंट्स भी होती है तो नॉलेज में आना चाहिए. लेकिन अगेन ऐसे it is one of the rare cases.
Basically, depending on the doctor's own, diagnosis, and now the time has come for evidence-based medicine also, and then NHA has also brought about standard treatment guidelines, which is just exactly to help a situation like this to patient as well as the treating doctor make the right decision about the course of action to be taken. Need not be actually a commercial angle to what the doctor did, or it may be any other issue that could have happened as an exception. But even to rule out those exceptions, I think our country should also need to adopt the standard treatment guidelines. And in Ayushman Bharat, these standard treatment guidelines have been issued for all important procedures. And we are hopeful that they would actually expand to the private insurance and to other practices also. So that if there is a condition which is backed by an evidence, then this is the line of treatment and this is what should follow. मेरे हित में क्या है, और क्योंकि मेरे पास पॉलिसी है, इसलिए उसको पॉलिसी का एब्यूज पेशेंट को भी नहीं करना चाहिए।
जैसे कह रहे हैं कि मैं ठीक कर देता हूँ उसे अपनी दवाइयों से, वो भी एविडेंस बेस्ड होना चाहिए। आपने कहा 2 बार स्पाइन की सर्जरी हुई, अगर यही हम एक एग्जांपल ले लें, फिर हाथ की सर्जरी हुई, तो ये बीमारी कुछ अलग होगी, बाकी पता नहीं 3 सर्जरियाँ और क्या होगी। और ये जैसे मैडम ने भी बोला, सानी साहब ने भी बोला, ये नहीं होगा कि अननेसेसरी सर्जरियाँ हो ही जाती हैं। इस हमारे इंडिजिनस सिस्टम से, आयुर्वेदिक सिस्टम से ट्रीट हो जाए, वो उससे हो, और जहाँ वो ना हो या जहाँ एलोपैथिक की जरूरत पड़े, तो ये भी हमें अपने कंट्री में देखना है कि हमारा जो पुराने सिस्टम है, जो इतने सदियों से कर लें, उनको कनेक्ट कर लें, तो वो आइडियल होगा हमारे।
Please.
Let me introduce myself. My name is Arun Kapoor and I have been associated with the pharmaceutical, healthcare and wellness industries for over 5 decades now. I do not know, because this is a gathering of a different kind, but some observations I'd like to put through. And like the gentleman said there, I have something similar to that. One is that in the health insurance area, my observation is a gap between promise and delivery. And I say only that much and leave the panel to think about what I'm saying. There is a gap in promise and delivery. The other one is exploitation of the facility of insurance, which was amounting to something which is said. With a great amount of infrastructural development, the intent versus actual quality delivery could be an area of concern. Whether it is medical education, whether it is nursing training, whether it is support staff training, whatever, there is a huge requirement of that, which I appreciate, that has been addressed to some extent. The other one, which is totally extrinsic, has not been looked at. You see, I'm not a very religious person in my thinking. But thank God for the traffic in this country, that every time I'm on the road and I hear a siren going of an ambulance, I suddenly think of God and pray to Him that let this guy reach the hospital. Let him die of anything else, but not because of being stuck in the traffic. So I think our rescue systems need to be looked at equally as much.
Okay. These promises and delivery, I think that gap is now reducing, because now we are moving ahead with more and more promises of truth, and gaps are always in every system, but that gap should reduce with the period of time that we are expecting, that going forward these gaps will not be there, and deliveries and the promises will be adequate equilibrium going forward. Thank you very much. Now I invite Shri Shyam Pudarji, our respected Managing Committee member, for his question to the audience.
What is the cover beyond 75? Most of the insurance companies, they don't give a health protection beyond 75, barring 2 or 3 insurance companies. Even if when they give, the exorbitant premium they charge, that is maybe determined. Insurance company accepted the proposal and everything. and later on they say you have misled or misrepresented, whereas clearly mentioned, or when they evaluate, they ask, have you got any major surgery or major disease in the last 5 years? Obviously, it says no. But on that ground, insurance company take their attitude so negative and threaten to cancel the policies also. How far it is?
Release on after department. First one.
The assumption of health insurance industry is कि आप जो है जल्दी से जल्दी जो है यंग एज के अंदर जो है हेल्थ इंश्योरेंस पॉलिसी ले लें, इससे कि पूल जो है वो बड़ा हो जाता है और नेचुरली जब भी जो है किसी को हॉस्पिटलाइजेशन की जरूरत 35 साल में पड़ सकती है तो किसी को 42 साल में पड़ सकती है। 75 इयर्स के बाद जो है जब कोई अप्रोच करता है इंश्योरेंस कंपनी को, तो उनको जो है ये होता है कि अब जो है इसको या तो पता लग चुका है कि कोई प्रोसीजर अब जरूरत पड़ सकता है, तो इसलिए उनको अपना जो है बिजनेस जो है उसको मैनेज करना है, उसको इफेक्टिवली मैनेज करना है। तो बाय इनवाइटिंग ए पर्सन कि जो कि 75 ईयर्स हो चुका है, वो जो है अपनी प्रॉफिटेबिलिटी को, अपने बिजनेस को फैक्टर नहीं करना चाहते हैं, तो हम तो यही कहेंगे कि आप जो है जब पॉसिबल हो यंग एज के अंदर जो है या 40 साल के हैं तो 45 साल के आप जो है इसको लीजिएगा। बाकी जो है न कि जब कैंसर डिटेक्ट हो चुका है, जब हार्ट एलिमेंट हो चुकी है या डायबिटीज एडवांस हो चुकी है, तो उस टाइम पर जो है ये उनका बिजनेस है, तो उनको जो है आप कंपेयर नहीं कर सकते हो।
इन्वेस्टिगेटर हूँ, बहुत केस इन्वेस्टिगेट किए हैं। रिसेंटली कुछ केसेस मेरी नॉलेज में आए हैं जिनमें लोगों की कॉर्पोरेट इंश्योरेंस रहेंगे तो उन लोगों ने प्राइवेट पॉलिसीज नहीं खरीदी हैं सेपरेट, और जब रिटायर हुए तो उन लोगों को नेक्स्ट पॉलिसीज नहीं मिली। उन्होंने अपने लिए हेल्थ पॉलिसीज खरीदने की कोशिश करी, उन लोगों को नहीं मिली, और अगर नहीं मिली नहीं तो बहुत सारे रिस्ट्रिक्शंस के साथ मिली। या अगर मेरे में केस इन्वेस्टिगेट किए गए, उनके लोग केसेस रिजेक्शन में चले गए कि आपने ये हमें प्रॉब्लम बताया नहीं। ये चीज़ें कोई भी, क्योंकि ऑलरेडी वो इंश्योर चल रहा है अपनी कंपनी के साथ में, कॉर्पोरेट में चल रहा है, तो उसको एक आप लोगों ने अम्ब्रेला पॉलिसी दे रखी है जिसके अंदर कुछ कवर मिल रहा है, क्योंकि एग्जिस्टिंग सब कुछ आप कवर दे रहे हैं। तो जब वो रिटायर हो रहा है तो हम उसी पॉलिसी को एक्सटेंशन क्यों नहीं दे सकते उसके साथ?
मैं जरा सा और इम्प्रूव करके बोल रहा हूँ। मारुति उद्योग के अंदर जो है इन हाउस पॉलिसी है कि जो किसी का खर्चा है हॉस्पिटलाइजेशन का वो कंपनी देती है। सेम प्रॉब्लम उनको आती है कि जब वो रिटायर हो जाते हैं तो कुछ है। तो एक हमारे जो क्लाइंट जो कि रिटायर्ड जनरल मैनेजर थे, जब उनको प्रॉब्लम आई तो उन्होंने फिर अपने पुलिस को बोला और हमें भी बोला, और हमारा जो स्टाफ मेंबर जो उनके पास जाता है, तो हम जो है प्रैक्टिकली सारे सीनियर्स की लीडरशिप ऑफ मारुति उद्योग को हम पॉलिसी देते हैं। 54 इयर्स की एज में हम जाकर उनको पॉलिसी देते हैं कि अगले 4 साल जो है टिल द रिटायरमेंट को आप कंपनी में कवर्ड हो। आप जो है पेशेंस के साथ हिम्मत रख के ये प्रीमियम पे करते जाइएगा। लेकिन अगर मान लीजिए कि कोई 50 साल की उम्र में हार्ट एलिमेंट का मरीज हो चुका है और वो सोचे कि मैं 58 साल में रिटायर होकर जो है मैं जो है लेकिन तब जो है पॉलिसी ले लूंगा, नहीं इंश्योरेंस कंपनी नहीं जो है
वही चीज़ तो है।
हेल्थ हार्ट है, कैंसर है, ये चीजें तो ऐसी हैं जिसमें कि आपका दरवाजा बंद हो जाता है, चाहे वो आपको ये बीमारी 30 साल में आ जाए कि 45 में आ जाए कि 60 में आ जाए। इसलिए जो है हेल्थ इंश्योरेंस सूटेबल टाइम पे जल्दी से जल्दी लीजिएगा और अपनी पॉलिसी को चलाते रहिएगा, और ये लेके चलिएगा कि डेटा जो है इतना स्ट्रॉन्ग रेगुलेटर है कि अगर आप इंश्योरेंस पॉलिसी का प्रीमियम देते रहते हो तो वो जो है till the last day of your life जो है इंश्योरेंस कंपनी आपसे पीछा नहीं छुड़ा सकती है. They have to go on giving the policy and passing your
And yeah, that is the bottom line.
मैम स्टार्टिंग में जब तक ये कॉन्सेप्ट इतना हाईलाइट नहीं हुआ था, पैंडेमिक की वजह से इतना हाईलाइट हुआ है बेसिकली. हेल्थ
Insurance is a business of insurability,
हेल्थ
right?
इंश्योरेंस का बिजनेस.
Insurability होना चाहिए ना, जो आप assume कर रहे हैं उसका अगर वो करें इंश्योरेंस तो बहुत एक्सपेंसिव होगा. It will be out of reach if they cover a person already having a condition.
अगर किसी को एडमिट नहीं है तब,
Sorry.
अगर किसी को भी एडमिट नहीं है तब भी वो उतना ही महंगा है.
Friends, good afternoon. So I would like to thank you to all the speakers, all the dignitaries who have joined us in this today's program. So we have Dr. Malti Jaswalji. She is from World Bank and from the National Health Authority also. Then we have Dr. Harsh Mahajan, who is the chair Hospital and Diagnostic Committee, PHDCCI, and the founder of the Mahajan Imaging. And we have Sethi ji, who is the president of Tertiary Chamber, Sethi ji, and Sarwar ji. Friends from the managing committee, eminent dignitaries, friends from media, and ladies and gentlemen. I am really delighted to propose the hearty vote of thanks to all of you. And I would like to convey my deep regards and hearty thanks to all the speakers for their, I think, very wonderful deliberation which they have made. And you see that Dr. Sethi, not Dr. I think SKCT, who is co-chair of our BFSI committee, he had presented a very good, I think, theme address where he has covered about the entire insurance industry. And whatever he told that from 73,000 crore to 28 lakh crore, I think it's a big number. And all of you are vouching it also that in the past this number has increased a lot also. So sir, we hope that everybody will be covered in our country and will get the advantage of it. Thank you very much for giving us the insights about the insurance industry. Very, very eye-opener for everybody. And I would like to thank you to Madam Malti ji. For giving us the international global perspective also, and she has very well covered about the SDG part, which is I think we need to beat out at 2030. We are talking 2042, but I think many things will be covered before I think 2030. So thank you very much for joining with us and spending time in this program. And I would like to thank you to our president who has motivated us and guided us this today's program. Thank you very much for coming and joining this program. And this is very good initiative by the insurance, this health committee and the BFSI committee. Jointly they have organized this program where the views of both the committees were here actually. And I would like to thank you to the moderator of the today's program, Sri SP Sharma, for moderating this session very well, and I think everybody got the program very well organized and all. And other than that, there are two things which I would like to convey in this theme. And we were discussing in this interactive session with our esteemed guest that the insurance is available when you are healthy or you are good actually. The same way when you are going to the bank for loan, the loan is also available when you are not getting it actually. So the system is like that. We can't do anything. Definitely there are remedy which Sethi has told, we have to follow it. In today's newspaper, you must have seen the news that Policy Bazaar has conducted a survey where they have conducted a survey in Tier 1, Tier 2 and Tier 3 cities on the health insurance. And this is the finding that 89% of the people who are in Tier 2, Tier 3, they are renewing the health insurance. And the 77% people who are in the Tier 1 city, they are renewing it actually. So now the things are changing actually. The people who are in the Tier 2, Tier 3 or semi-urban area, they are more concerned about the health after the pandemic. So the number which Sethi has told, definitely it will be achieved, and everybody will get the the advantage of health insurance. So I think with this discussion, with this session.
And who are these people? Who are we talking about? These are the missing middle class. These are the people who are neither having government job or corporate job. These are the people who are not covered under any employee state insurance corporation or Ayushman Bharat scheme. We are talking about 40 crore people who constitute 30% of population of India and who do not have any insurance. We are talking about the unorganized sector. The panel is, the chairperson of the panel is Malti Daswal. She is consultant at World Bank and advisor at National Health Authority. We have already heard her in the first part of this session. It was enlightened to know her views. The co-chairperson of the panel is Dr. Sameer Gupta. He is co-chair Hospital and Diagnostics Committee, PhD Chamber. He is also director at Cardiac Cath, Metro Group of Hospitals and Unkan Hospital. We have other panelists. We have Bhaskar Nerurkar. He is head health insurance at Bajaj Allianz Health Insurance. Bhaskar Nerurkar is the head of health administration team at Bajaj Allianz General Insurance. Prior to joining Bajaj Allianz in 2011 as head of operations, Mr. Bhaskar worked with Bajaj Allianz Life Insurance as assistant vice president for IT. He has also worked with Life Insurance Corporation of India for more than 16 years. We have with us Mr. Sethi, whom we have already heard in the morning, and he is the co-chair BFSI committee of PhD Chamber and founder and CEO of Insurance Foundation of India. We have with us Sultan Kamruddin Badani. He is heading Accident and Health Insurance, Underwriting and Product Development at Universal Sompo. He has completed his MBA from Narsi Monji Institute of Management Studies. He has also completed his Bachelor of Homeopathic Medicine and Surgery and post-graduation in Homeopathy from the Institute of Clinical Research in Homeopathy. He has over 20 years of experience in related sectors like hospital, TPA and insurance broker. I welcome all of you to this panel discussion today. So my first question is about the unorganized sector. According to you, what are the innovations that as an industry are needed to cover this sector? And when we talk about unorganized sector, we are talking about people who help us in our daily lives. When I talk about unorganized sector, I am talking about the cooks, the maids, the parking attendant who help me in the daily life. How can we bring them in our innovation fold and what the companies are doing in this regard? So if I can start with the chairperson, Ms. Malti, we have your views first.
So I think the organized sector, they're all over, but then how do you reach them? I think the distribution is a key word, number one. Number two is their affordability is a key word. How do you make the insurance affordable for them? If we can crack these two, I think we'll be able to cover them in large numbers. Now let's deal with these issues one by one. It will be impossible to go to each of them, and if it was possible to go to each of them, I think industry would have done by now. So there is a need to aggregate them, to pool them into some kind of a one or two few buckets or few pools, I would say. And so that is why the concept of group could be brought in, because you need to insure people for affordable cover, which is a requirement of this group. You can't insure them in small numbers. That will not be affordable, that would not be sustainable, that would not be affordable. So you need to group them into some kind of an affinities, like it could be a professional affinity, it could be vocational affinity, it could be members of a microfinance group. And I'm sure all of us do have affinities, like even Sir was mentioning, like RWAs, they have servants, workers, drivers, gardeners, so their RW members are all very educated people who are hiring these people. So maybe people who are hiring them could be, could organize the pool, or maybe the associations like Karamchari Association, Safai Karamchari Association, or Sex Workers Association, or Truck Drivers Association. In fact, Truck Drivers Association approached National Health Authority that they would like to cover their members, for a PMJ-like program. So I think aggregation of these unorganized people is very necessary for administering the program. You can't reach out to them individually. Ensuring them in large number and administering the program, because after all you need to collect premiums, issue them some policy certificate, issue them card, make them aware that they are covered, and ensure renewability. So for them, aggregation under one some kind of a administrator, it could be NGO, it could be a microfinance group, it could be self-help group, industry association, any kind of. So aggregation is the first thing I think in my view. Second is designing a policy which is, since I work with Ayushman Bharat, so maybe I could be biased, but something a very affordable kind of a cover like a PMJ, which will keep the cost of cover very less. Why these people are unable to buy? Because I could also buy for my servant today also, but the policies are 10,000, 15,000, 20,000 for the family. So if I could gift him a PMJ or a cover like this, it would be much easier. PMJ today costs, depending on different states, something like 500 to 2100 to 2500. The PMJ covers crores and crores. So if these were lakhs, the cover would definitely be expensive than this price. But still it could be affordable, I would say. Anyone, can afford to pay 200 rupees, 300 rupees, 400 rupees per month, and 20, 30 rupees per day. Every Indian can actually afford it. Every family can afford it.
Of a policy maker, I'm going to put on my hat of a doctor. So at my heart, I'm an interventional cardiologist. I'm also a healthcare administrator. And I think to try and understand where insurance is going, how to go forward, we also need to step back and see where is healthcare going, right? Because where healthcare is going, the insurance has to adapt, and everybody has to adapt. Now, when you think of healthcare, there are 4 different types of healthcare. One is primary healthcare, your sardi, khansi, jukham, your cough and cold, your maternal things. That all comes under kind of primary healthcare. Then there is secondary healthcare. Secondary healthcare is a little bit more advanced than that. Maybe you have a urine infection, you have pneumonia, you want to go to the hospital, you have a delivery done. That's to a certain extent secondary healthcare. Then comes tertiary healthcare, which is super specialists. You have a gastroenterologist, you have a bleeding ulcer, you come to me because you're having a heart attack. You are having gangrene. That requires specialization. And then there is quaternary healthcare, which is transplants. Accelerated that. We saw a lot of acceptability of this in the COVID era, where you have fever, you tested positive, you have body pains, you went on one of the platforms, you went to your closest doctor and said, listen, see me on video, see me on WhatsApp, see me on Zoom, whatever, right? So that I foresee a lot of this is going to be online. Now you want a blood test, so now you call your local diagnostic center, they come home, they collect your blood, you get tested, you follow up the report with the doctor, your diagnosis is done, your treatment starts. He sends you a prescription, you WhatsApp it to your local pharmacy, you WhatsApp it to your online pharmacy, and you get the medicines. You're not left home for any of these things. Infections. Now I see a lot of people, at least in tier 1 cities, in my network, my patients will tell me, doc, can you give me something at home? Can you send somebody at home who can give me IV antibiotics? I really don't want to go to the hospital. There's COVID. I'm more comfortable at home. So a lot of that will translate into home in the coming times. And I think it's important for insurance companies also, for healthcare providers, to try and adapt and foresee that change as it happens. So a lot of that will also kind of transition home. There will be routine supervision of the person at home from healthcare providers by virtual visits. You can have telemonitors, etc., etc. Tertiary healthcare is going to be in the hospital for sure. Quaternary healthcare is going to be in the hospital for sure. There is no denying that. You can't get a heart transplant at home. Now comes the next part. Now that when you for example, you had a knee transplant, you had a knee replacement done, right? Now, in a knee replacement, you have a prolonged hospitalization. The actual part is only 3 to 4 days. But after that, the rest of the 3 to 4 days is just rehabilitation. You get the physiotherapy, you get pain control, a doctor is coming and seeing you, making sure your blood pressure is controlled, your sugar is controlled, etc., etc. So a lot of these things will now transition on to this new concept which is coming up called transition care centers. This is a concept which is very well developed in the Western world. Dr. Jaiswal over here from the World Bank will be able to also attest to that, that in the Western world, this is kind of already in place. So, you know, you get 3 days of hospitalization for your hip replacement, for example, and then followed by 4 days in a rehabilitation center. This will bring the cost of healthcare down, because these rehabilitation centers are comparatively lower acuity places. You don't need that much amount of intensive medical care. You don't need one-on-one nursing. You don't need people to be there all the time around you, because these people are for the most part stable. They're just getting physiotherapy and stronger before they go home. So this concept is healthcare. And this is something I face in TV, right? You may have we talked about drivers. You have your house staff, or you have maybe somebody who's working in your office. His policy insurance is for X amount of money, right? It's for 3 lakh rupees. And now he gets sick and he wants to go to a hospital. So he goes to the biggest brand out there, goes over there, gets treatment for 3 days, he wears off his insurance. And now he's like, I need to go somewhere else, I need to go to a facility which I can actually afford. So I think it's cognizant that I know just because you have health insurance does not mean all gates are open. Go to a place which you think you will be able to afford, which may be more economical for you, because then it leaves a very sour taste in everybody's mouth if you go to a place where you are having financial issues and it's just not good care. There are some very important practical things I see on the ground every day, and I think everybody needs to be cognizant of where healthcare is going in 2042, so the insurance is also ready for that. I think that's about one more important thing is prevention. I know there were a lot of, I'm a cardiologist, I see, the data is very clear. India is the heart disease capital of the world. 25% of people who have heart attacks in India are less than 40 years of age. Unfortunately, many of them don't get the treatment they deserve. They're not able to reach the hospital in time. They sometimes die at home, or even if they care, they have to, like Mr. Sethi said earlier, that in some states you have to go to a district hospital. From the district hospital, you have to go to a tertiary care center to get the treatment. So, those treatments will get better. It's just a matter of time before the PPP partnerships start coming in. AIMs are coming up in every state. And there are private hospitals are also opening up in every state. The brands are going out. So it's a matter of time before that infrastructure improves, and cost definitely becomes a big challenge for it. I have heard from many hospital operators, including ourselves, that if you have to go to a tier 2 city or a tier 3 city, you need, because of your brand value, you have to have a certain level of infrastructure. But what you can ask the person in front is not of that same amount that you would ask in the tier 1 city.
Today I can say just quickly that very small network of doctors are there who are covering OPD policies. So that's one of the challenges, because as a person we want to go to a doctor who has treated me from my childhood. So if that doctor is missing from the panel, that's problematic for me. So as an insurance company, I will suggest that it should have a vast network of doctors in their panel. With this, I come to Bhaskar sir, to you. So what are your views on the innovations that are needed in this space?
And the major, it boils down to affordability. Affordability of premium is of course dependent on the cost of claim, as Bharti beautifully explained. We have been seeing, and I think COVID has brought it to the fore, the cost of treatment, and Dr. Gupta across the tiers changes. Not just across the tier, in the same hospital, if a patient is admitted in a general ward, single private AC, deluxe, super deluxe suite, the cost of treatment changes. If you ask the hospital, the doctor is the same, anesthetist is the same, equipment is the same, operation theatre is the same, but the cost of treatment changes. Why? And it escalates. I can tell you that in a city like Mumbai, a cataract operation in a single private AC costs you 45,000, and the same cataract operation in a Prince suite costs you 1.75 lakhs. The lens is same, the doctor is same, operation theatre, but only because you want the hospitals. A lot of good brands have now the line between hospitals and hospitality is blurring so much that in this city itself, hospital offers you a room of 2 lakh rupees a day. I don't think even any hotel has 2 lakh rupees a day suit here, but a hospital offers you a room at 2 lakh rupees a day. When somebody has an insurance, he feels entitled that the insurance company is going to pay, why not I go for the best of the facility? I have not seen. I had a customer, he said that 10 years I had an insurance policy. I have not made a single claim. I have got a very minor problem. What you say is right, but I want to go to the Prince Suite of Mumbai hospital. And insurance company has to pay. So somehow we have to convince him that I will waive off all your non-medical charges, but come down to the single private. Today, what is happening? I'll give you wonderful examples of the COVID pandemic. A lot of hospitals simply air conditioned their rooms. Now, when the patients are admitted for COVID, the COVID spreads faster in air conditioner. To pay that sanitization cost, insurance company. A COVID patient can be kept in normal room. It's with the fan roaming around. But you develop a ICU ward which is highly AC, and then AC spreads the pandemic faster. So you have the sanitization of that AC every 6 hours. We are also increasing the claim cost. For what? Not just claim cost from that is the treatment cost for the customer. And for what we are doing it. So all of us have to really look at it. If you go to any Western countries and go to the hospital facility, the separate room or air condition is provided based on the condition of the patient, not on the status of the patient. It is for he has got something which will infect others, then he is separated in the kept in the separate room. But here that has become like a luxury. So the claim cost and the treatment cost control is critical when we talk about any very very critically look at what sort of PMJY. Why PMJY is running on success? Because PMJY can be, you can add on their red card. I think every Indian can be insured, and I may not be wrong, at 500 rupees per head. If every hospital in this country goes by PMJY tariff, 100% insurance is possible in this country. 500. PMJY cost itself today is increasing, as Dr. Marti said, 900 rupees. We started with 890, and today we are talking about 2700, 2200, 2700. So medical inflation. During the pandemic, medical inflation has jumped 32%. Insurance experience 32%. Premium is the same. We have not changed the premiums. Premiums are same, but the claim cost or the treatment cost has increased by 32%. And now that pandemic, let us say, is receded over, but that has not come down. This year the inflation is another 8%. So supporting those all treatments, supporting all those claims, we really have to look at the costs those are involved in the medical treatment. And there lies the crux. There was a discussion on India being a medical tourism, and we have got really best of the doctors, best of the facilities, and we can be a sort of medical tourism hub in the entire, I think, Asia Pacific region, if I talk about. But we have, there are countries today who have reduced their cost, and people are saying, why India? Let us go to Thailand. Let us look at this. So they are coming up. People are realizing, other countries are realizing this is the area, and who are treating there. Indian doctors are treating there, going and the bringing down, controlling the cost. The one clear thing is that we have, all of us together have to work towards controlling the treatment cost. Once that is done, the affordability part of it will automatically come.
If it has to come, it can come only if someone can convey to Prime Minister Modi that these will be the benefits by having health regulator. In case he is convinced, he can bring it, otherwise let us forget it. We have forgotten it for 16 years and another 2042, don't expect health regulator to come. As far as your first question is concerned, I will appreciate if you will repeat it so that I can focus on that.
So I am asking what should be the features, what you think can be the pull factor for the product?
See, the customer is always thinking that he will have the best product at the lowest price, which is not possible. One can have right product at right price from right insurance company. Because this product is such, it is having service correlation. But then it is that the insurance companies have to see that their viability, their profitability, they are answerable to investors. In this country, we are finding that on the stock market, the shares of Nykaa, Zomato, and such companies are being sold at such high prices. But 20 years of operations, how many insurance companies have been listed on the stock exchange? And if you can see the market price of those shares, that many of them are like GICV and New India, you find that they are selling at much lower price and all that thing. Because in the stock market, if you have to raise money, and which is very easy to raise, you have to have the profitability and return to the shareholders. We have been talking of 74% FDI and wonders will happen and all that thing. But if you look at the figures, you will find that in most of the cases there have been few transactions where it is that the same investor bought some shares off like that, and that is, it has not done. In last 5 years, how many new insurance companies have been licensed by the regulator? None. We have been propagating that in case you are having that application can be submitted at any time. If these nursery schools in Delhi, if they have that you can bring your child at any time and it will be admitted, there won't be any, that is, parents won't be bothered and who will go and all that thing. But because they announce that forms will be sold on such and such day, you find that there is a queue of parents and that is they want to collect the form and they want to submit the form. Reserve Bank of India has been doing a job that they invite application for banks, and when they invited it last time, there were 26 applicants within India who applied. Out of that, only 2 got the license.
And also the pricing side, what could be the, because pricing is the most important factor when we talk about health insurance. So what are your views and also innovation if you want to say?
If you see from the pricing perspective, right now if you see like again the affordability is an issue and we should have a product which takes care of the affordability. So that's the very important thing, and pricing again it relates to your claims outgo. So whatever we have discussed, like there are various parameters which are increasing the claim cost. So if we bring down that claim cost, then we can reduce the price. And again your pricing is related to your age, it is related to your age is there. In some companies we have a tier based pricing because we have seen normally like tier 1A, like Delhi NCR, the cost of treatment is on the higher side. The average claim size is on the higher side. So some companies have done zone-wise pricing as well. So that is the thing, and also it is related to your sum insured. So age and sum insured, it plays an important point from the pricing perspective. But if we see, if we have to cover this middleman, which is our target, we should have an affordable product. Yes, innovation is very important because if you see in the developed countries, product innovation in the health insurance sector. It has helped in the momentum of the product. But as what Bharti Madam has also said, that distribution is also one of the challenge. And one thing is we need to have an affordable product. So affordable product is the most important key if you want to succeed. Yes, PMJ has worked very well and this model can be taken forward. Also, if you see Arogya Sanjeevani, which was a mandatory product which was pushed by IDA, so that was a very great initiative. If you see Arogya Sanjeevani, it has helped us in covering the tier 2 and tier 3 cities. But yes, there are some problems like premium is on the higher side. So now coming to the product development perspective. From the product development perspective, yes, we have these challenges and we need to have an affordable product. But what we can do, see now the awareness of the health insurance is not a problem because post-COVID, everybody is aware that health insurance is the key and I need to have a health insurance. So whenever I interact with the driver or my servant, when I ask them that do you have health insurance, they are completely blank and they say that humko pata hai. Health insurance is not very important, but we don't have the money to pay the premium. So here, bringing down the premium cost is important. I will touch base on the product, what we can do. If you see like 2/3 of your out-of-pocket expenditure is for the OPD coverage. So we can have a OPD product which takes care of the treatment. Again, what we can do, yes, there are innovation which is being done in the product which we are tackling right now. Wellness is the part of the product. Because previously the concern was like we are just selling a plain vanilla product. But right now, yes, the innovation is being done. There is a wellness linked product and then there are fitness incentives being given to the customer if you are healthy. But here what we can do when we are coming to the middleman, what we can do that we should have a community screening. The focus should be on the wellness aspect. Also, what Dr. Samir was mentioning, that virtual treatment can be given and it will reduce your cost of treatment because it will reduce your length of stay in the hospital. And definitely it will help you in reducing your cost. But unfortunately in the country right now there are very few home healthcare service providers. And they charge a very high administrative cost, basically because of the overheads. So if we have multiple, if we have a home healthcare centers which are spread across the country, then it becomes easy to treat this patient at home and there is no need to hospitalization. And from the product perspective, yes, we can give a OPD coverage. We should reduce the waiting period because Arogya Sanjeevani, the problem is there is a standard waiting period, 4 years waiting period for the pre-existing disease and 2 years waiting period for your specified disease. So that if that can be taken care of, if we reduce the waiting period, we put a capping which is there in the PMJY and Arogya Sanjeevani policies. So that will help in taking care. We should have packages and the product should be very simplified so that it becomes easy to understand. The customer can understand the product. IDA has already taken the initiative wherein in October 20 they have standardized the wordings. So
that insurance policies should be available in vernacular languages, regional languages, and Hindi is of course being the national language, covering maybe 65%, 70% of the person and all that thing. That is, we have to bring the documents in Hindi language, which should be available to the people. That is, we are having a language divide with our customers by giving them brochure in English, policy in English, claim form in English and all that thing. And the level of dissatisfaction which I find in many of them are not our clients, but as they mention it, that when their claim is, insurance companies, claim department are having one direction, that first time when the claim comes, that gives sufficient business to those 20 hospitals that we are having in our territory, that is potential customers which are, say, 200,000. Then it is that they have to compete to attract. That is when the need arises. It comes to our hospital, not to that hospital. Let us
create competitiveness, cost effectiveness, attractive. That is the way to pull the customers. Why should one customer go to that hospital when I could have taken care of? Let's create that.
With this, we have come to the end of this panel.
Just one line, I think I've been sitting
Please
here,
add
I
whatever
can't
you
hear
want.
that, and I speak on behalf of industry, sir. At least your organization should be saying that no insurance company claim department is with the mindset that we have today. No insurance company action happens because of many reasons, and that awareness gap is there. But that is, I think, and I request we should promote that every insurance company is here to pay the claims, pay the genuine claims. That's the only thing I want. Sorry.
With your permission, I bring this session to an end. Again, thank you so much for your insights and thoughts on the subject today.
Thank you, Malti ji, for nicely moderating the session. And thank you all the dignitaries on the class for providing so many avenues and suggestions for the proper healthcare system in India. Definitely we are going to represent to the government for their consideration so that health system becomes more and more robust in the country. So moving back, I would like to invite Shri S.K. Sethi for presenting the memento. Now, once again, I request Shri S.K. Sethi to present a memento to Shri Sultan Kamruddin Badani. I request Dr. Samir Gupta, Co-Chair, Hospital and Diagnostics Committee of PHDCCI, to present a memento to Mr. Bhaskar Yunekar, Cat Health Insurance, Bajaj. Thank you, dignitaries, and thank you all the delegates. I would like to propose a formal vote of thanks. On the behalf of PhD Chamber of Commerce and Industry and my own, it is indeed a pleasure to propose our voting expertise.